Okay, good afternoon. This is day 122 of making videos that describe a day or thought in the life of Schizophrenic Dominic. I experience schizophrenia, but I do not believe it's a disease or that I am crazy. I believe I have been warred upon and people inflicted schizophrenia, the government or somebody associated with the government inflicted schizophrenia on me and tried to drive me crazy and then told everybody I was crazy or diseased. Uh, I have written a book on medium.com that I submit for free. It is not the best book, but it is ample enough to read and is imperative to be read at this time, so I share it now. I would like to edit it and publish it in the future in a print form, but I'm not in the wherewithal to go through with that at the moment, so I'm starting other projects and things of that life adventures going on right now. So day 17, I express why I call myself schizophrenic rather than targeted individual. And day 45, I have a 3-minute intro into why I make these videos. Uh, I usually talk every day, say a little thing out of books or in the news or feedback and biofeedback or schizophrenic feedback in synchronicity and the government feedback and stuff like that. So I was going to start off today talking about the day in the life of schizophrenic, and Disney changed up their uh, park and California Adventure. They're going to add Coco, so I think that's good. It's timely to add a Latin American or a Latino. I don't know if it's Latin American, but it's Latino uh, cartoon to its park. People need to be reminded that Latinos and Latin Americans are part of American continent, and we're part of the American continent here. And the more we try to separate ourselves from each other, the worse it's going to be for us. I think. We just need to accept the fact that we're all together. So I thought that was good that Disney is adding Coco, and Coco's a great story. And pretty much anybody could like Coco, no matter what your attitude towards immigration is or whatever. But all right. And they're also gonna do Avatar, and I like Avatar. I think it's a good message that Avatar has, and it's a fun movie. It's a great story. It's a creative story, and it's $1 billion blockbuster movie. And I think it's going to be cool to see the land at California Adventure when they do it. It's going to be on the back lot, and then I was happy that they doesn't seem they're going to get rid of the Hollywood land. I hope not. So I'm hoping I don't know a lot about these things. I'm just telling you what I heard, and I heard that I guess they're going to keep Soarin and Grizzly Rapids because that was the rumor for a while. They were going to get rid of Soarin Grizzly Rapids. So I'm glad that they're going to apparently keep those rides. And then Coco's going to go in the back lot, and they're going to add a few walkways over the Harbor Boulevard. So it'll be nice if you are someone that stays at a hotel over there. All right, so that's exciting. I like that. And so, oh, cool. Also, today we walked 5 miles in our Camino training for my mom and dad and me. And we are getting more higher training distances, and so the next one we want to do is 6, and I think that one's going to be a little bit of a tough one for us, but we did pretty good today. I think we could have done 6 today if we really wanted to. So on the trail, most of the days will be like 6 milers, but there will be some 9 milers. So eventually over the summer we got to hit 8 or 9 miles a couple times just to train for it. And so yeah, there'll be like 1 or 2 days with a 9 miler, I think, but most of them will be 6. All right. So I was going to start off talking about how history is full of a-holes. And I just had this thought the other day, and I was like, just like responding to what's going on in the news and what's going on with me in my life, and just in general in the world or humanity, and thinking, man, history is full of just giant a-holes. And King George was an a-hole, but Trump is more of an a-hole than King George, I think. In the realm of villains to the United States, he's quite a villain, suspending Fifth Amendment due process, changing what it means to be American, and uh, I don't know, you know. So that's my opinion on that. Uh, but you just go off through history from Stalin to Hitler to U.S. presidents and congressmen and corporate lords and just serial killers, and man, there's some real big a-holes out there, and that have always been in control of, churches. I was raised Catholic, but the Catholic Church were a-holes for a while in Europe, and uh, now other churches are being a-holes now in America. And it's just like, well, I don't know why everyone has to be like big a-holes, but uh, then I was thinking like, well, most of them are men, so if you, or pretty much all of them are men that are the a-holes in history, so if you just hand it over to women, it'll be better. But then I was thinking, just give the women time. Maybe it's just a characteristic of humanity, but you can't really. Women still have potential to claim the throne. Not that we should have queens or whatever, but like claim the throne of like uh benevolent rulers or whatever, and they still have an opportunity, I guess. But uh but then I was thinking, give them time, and they'll probably mess things up too. Just look at Christy Noam. I don't know. It's so that's what I was thinking. Yeah, and so and I was thinking also, America wouldn't be as beautiful as it is in culture and in culinary arts, in arts, in science, in technology as it is without immigrants. And I don't know, like, JD Vance, he said something like, after 1850 we didn't need anybody. And it's just like, I don't, the guy has a bizarre outlook on what America is or whatever. And I would just say, like, I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again. When I was a kid and I was living in a mostly dominantly white valley, I did not like it. I did not. There was, and maybe it was because I don't know if it was because culturally I was Catholic and Italian a little bit, and Irish, but I just didn't feel the same I, as the dominant mindset in this place for the anti-immigrant sentiment. Now it's a little different now, so it's like now it's like politically it's like 50-50 or whatever, so it's a little nicer like that, but uh there was always something like, just I want to repulsive basically is like this anti-immigrant sentiment, and it's kind of repulsive. And the problem with the border is that we need to be politically integrated, I think, with Latin America, and even in the world. Like, we need to work towards political integration in the world where there's still sovereignty among nations, like something like the EU and things like that. And uh, political integration in the world, but they want to keep us separate nations competing with each other so that we have an enemy, and we don't realize that like the real enemy is this notion that all the wealth should go to a few thousand people, while the rest of us just dream of being wealthy enough to do something fun, or wealthy enough to take your kid somewhere, or wealthy enough to have a kid, wealthy enough to have two kids, wealthy enough to afford medicine, wealthy enough to afford food, wealthy enough to afford a car. It's like that's what most people go through their life thinking about. And then you have like these billionaires and 100 millionaires telling everybody that they just they don't have work ethic. Just putting the onus back on people to prove their worth. And I was going to get into that a little bit. So like we went from all lives matter to prove you matter. Dr. Oz was speaking at the White House, and he was saying like people have to prove they matter. I was thinking like, well, what happened to all lives matter? Because that was like something everyone was all gung ho about for a while, but I guess that was just some shallow BS, because now it's prove you matter. And the way you prove you matter, according to Dr. Oz, is you go to work, and you work for a corporation and you earn somebody something. Now he also did say you could care for an elderly parent or something like that. So okay, but he says if you're able-bodied and you're not working, then you basically don't matter, and you don't deserve health care. You don't deserve to be alive. Is what he's insinuating. That's the implication of what he's saying. And so I'm a disabled person, but I'm intellectually disabled. I'm an able-bodied person, and I have a hard time holding down a job because I, uh, I have to deal with the paranoia. I have to deal with people harassing me all the time. I have to deal with people causing calamities because I went out of my routine, or people being hostile, people trying to run me off the road. So it limits your ability to hold down a job, and people playing psychological warfare on you all the time, a massive operation doing it. So the same government that is doing this to me is now having somebody from the Oval Office say, I don't deserve to really be alive, because if I'm able-bodied and I'm not working somewhere, then I haven't proved that I matter. So my thought on that is like Dr. Oz doesn't matter to me, and I it's not surprising when you look at what's gone on with Yemen. We're starving people to death in Yemen. We helped Saudi Arabia fund a genocide in Yemen. We helped Israel do a genocide in Gaza and Palestine. So there's already people demonstrating that human beings don't matter to these people. And then you have a situation where they're trashing immigrants, and they're ripping, like they just ripped a honor student on his way to volleyball practice in Massachusetts, and they put him in chains and sent him to some prison, and no one knows where he is. And that's just one example out of hundreds of thousands of people that they're doing this to. And people don't matter there. So I was next in line, and now I don't matter. Although maybe he might say I matter because I help care for my parents, but they're pretty independent people. I help them around. I do help them, and they probably would really miss me if I wasn't around. But, you know, I think I matter. And so, uh, I don't know. So I would like to work, and like I said, I'm going to get back to work or whatever. So I'm not saying it's like a bad thing to say to encourage people to work, or to work in general, but you know, to prove you don't work to prove your intrinsic value as a human being, that you deserve to be alive. So I just totally differ from that philosophy, and I think that people have human rights, like they deserve housing, food, health care, and they should work for extra expenses. And I think we should have a system that's more like that. And so then the government warred upon me, and they discredited me, and Now they're telling people I don't matter, so they're trashing me. Uh, okay, so and trashing anybody who has intellectual disability. And all right, so that gets into something that I'll get into next time, which is all this stuff that the government did to me to wage a war on me and to disable me. They act like it never happened and are erasing people from Navy ships and from government documents or whatever. They're erasing history because they're pretending like it never happened. And I'll talk about this a little bit uh, in the future. But this lack of memory in America is kind of appalling. But all right, I guess I'm going to stop here and I'm done for today. Thank you for putting up with me.